Welcome. My name is Mandulo. Today we are talking about releasing guilt. So, we all have guilt, right? We all have guilt about something. And the guilt that we have is of not being able to do what we said we would do, not being able to stick to our truth or to stick to our word. And often, to connect to yourself has become this radical act of self identifying your sense of oneness, your sense of self in a world that wants you to conform. We have been conditioned as a collective and a society to believe that you are only productive when you are consuming. You are only productive when you are performing. And you are only productive when there are visible results that extend to another in the form of satisfaction, happiness, being pleased that you did this for me. You did all of this for me. And if we live with people who are all about me, then we end up living in a world that, on a deep level, is selfish. And not the selfish to, just dust out here, not the selfish that allows you to be you. It's a selfish that says, I don't want you to be you. I am uncomfortable when you are you because then I don't know who I am without you. I need you to do X, Y, and Z in order for me to be complete. So then we start giving our power away. We give our sense of power away and we exchange it for some sense of alliance that we are going to belong. That we're going to belong to this group that's going to sustain our sense of survival. So when we live too much into the world, we give our power away in exchange. So a lot of the time, the work is to take your power back and to observe very clearly, who am I giving my power to and why? Why have we brought in this narrative that serving God or worshiping God is a God outside, is a God that does things for us? But in that doing things for us, we need it to be physically manifest in order to prove God's worthiness to in our lives. And then we extend that because we look at each other and we say, prove to me. So then we don't see each other. It's so interesting because I'm in an area where there's predominantly Zulu speakers. And I'd actually never really noticed this before. But first and foremost, Zulu means heaven. So it's people of the heaven. That's just, it's going to weave in somehow into this conversation. And then we say Sawubona, which means I see you. In effect. And I've been noticing as I'm walking along the streets, people will greet and say Sawubona, but they've already passed me. Or if they're standing close to me, they're not looking at me. Now, when you are saying I see you, then there has to be an acknowledgement of a person by you also stopping and making sure that you see them as you are asking for them to see you, because that's what you're saying, right? You're saying, I see you. So then stop and pause if it is a time and place. But I realize that you can tell a type of person who wants you to perform for them, because when they greet you and they're saying Sawubona, I see you, or when people are saying at the end of a yoga class or in the beginning Namaste or Namaste, I see the light in you, but they walk off. When you are showing interest, that becomes a selfless act. So already if someone is saying, I see you, Sawubona, but they're not looking in your direction or they're just passing you, then already that is stating that they don't see you. They want you to make the effort to show interest. They want to see, can you show interest in me first? Just by me saying something, I need to see your action. And already, then that's selfish. You can take what you want from that. But this is the relationships that we are in. We move into selfish relationships because if we get someone who is quiet or a child who is quiet and is minding their business, perhaps in the trees, in nature, in their room, wherever it is, dancing or whatever, and something in you might feel, and I'm specifically speaking to any caretakers or parents, you would feel some sense of irritation with a child. And when I also mean caretakers, I also mean teachers, because you are taking care of a child in your presence. When you see them enjoying themselves and you feel uncomfortable, that is your inner child who didn't get to have that freedom of connecting to the divine without needing another's presence through performance, through connecting the way you want them to connect to make you feel good. So it aligns into our schooling systems too. It extends into that, of course. Because imagine schools where we could allow kids to be for the first 7 years. We can just allow them to be. And for them to start shifting the narrative and to create things that have never been created before. because to guide them through a certain basic educational system is not enough. We need more. We're moving into a deeper sense of AI, artificial intelligence, through technology, which is ancestral intelligence. That is a true intelligence running through our bodies and then being implemented through physical manifestation through technology. In order for us to then come back to being, so that we can allow the machines to do the work, so that we can allow them to give us that gratification instead of taking that from another human being. We can allow the machines to entertain, so that we can get back and pour into ourselves and not feel guilty for that anymore. For some of us, and most of us, the work is to be connected to the divine unapologetically. Be full of yourself unapologetically. That is some people's job title. Okay. To be themselves without the guilt. So let's remove the guilt and start to be curious about the narrative that we are shifting and that we are projecting onto one another. When you see me peaceful and you find me in a space, or you find a child or an adult in a space, and because your parents told you that you were being lazy, that you need to be productive, so then you force productivity onto them, release that narrative. The world needs to move in nature's cycles, in tune with nature. We need to be back in the rhythm of nature, because it's in nature that we get to learn so much from our ancestry. We get to learn so much about ourselves. We get to learn so much about each other. And then the most important thing is that we get to connect to the divine. So I'm encouraging you today to be curious. Question, what is my narrative with guilt? Because if you can sit with your relationship with guilt and you can allow yourself to be connected to the divine once you repurpose that relationship, you won't, when someone is enjoying their peace, try to take that away, because they are with the divine in that moment. God is trying to connect to them. Source, energy, universe, whatever you want to call it, is trying to connect to them in that silence. And it can become a very disrespectful act of interrupting. So we are going to come back into a society where we do not disrespect the silence. We do not disrespect another when they are connecting to the divine, even if it means on a personal level. It's different to work. On a personal level, that they are not connecting with us because they are connecting with the divine. And it's so important in every single relationship that we have, that you feel comfortable. You get into a relationship only when you feel comfortable with silence. That when silence comes into your space or is in your presence, that you don't feel threatened by that, by needing to fill the gap. So let's together shift that narrative. by working on ourselves so that we're not projecting what the old narrative of you have to be productive to be able to survive. Forget surviving. Why aren't we as a society talking about thriving? Why is it in the wellness sort of sectors, but it's so exclusive? It feels so like out of reach. Why isn't wellness in reach through every single community? Why isn't thriving at the forefront of the narrative? And I'm obviously asking knowing why it's not. But for you, why is it not? Why can it not be a narrative that shifts from needing someone to perform in order for you to be happy, needing to control another's connection to the divine to benefit not only them, but to benefit society as a whole? Because it's the system of a certain matrix that needs control over your time. And I'm telling you now, when someone has control over your time, they have control over you. And if you do not start understanding how to spend quality time with yourself, you will be giving yourself away to a system that will, like we see in there was a Netflix, I don't know if it's still on because I don't have Netflix now, but the Netflix series Black Mirror. So that will feel, when you are worshiping the God of fear, you will fear the truth being exposed in those series. I haven't watched them all, but the ones that I've watched have been very like, ooh, wow, that's what's going on. And that's what can go on if you believe the narrative of fear. But there's always love and peace, or peace and joy. So it's an invitation today to start cultivating space for yourself to be with God. Yes, God can be in a community around church and you can commune together. But God needs you to pay attention, to be in relationship with the divinity of what is being expressed through you as you breathe in and as you breathe out. That's the real relationship with God, is cultivating a relationship of understanding who you are through who you are not. Communing with the breath, communing with the heart medicine, communing with discomfort. And discomfort is simply information that gives us clarity to help us understand that we have been disconnected from source. So let us as a collective no longer disrespect each other when someone is in silence because they are with the divine. Let us release the bullying that comes from this fear-based narrative that I'm not going to feel good enough if you are not performing for me. Let's not disrespect the divine anymore. Because if you're going to try play God in someone's life, the wheel the wheel will turn and the real God will rise up to show you that do not ever do this again in this lifetime and in the next ones to come. If you are experiencing any trauma around your guilt, I have connected a meditation which is called releasing meditation. And it's just a short, like 10, 11 minutes. And if you're still feeling like you need something deeper, then let's work together. My email will be in the description below. But I will help you breathe out through a specific meditation for your understanding in your body, to be able to release that narrative completely and to repurpose and shift your mind to understand that when you are in silence, you are connecting with the divine. When there is discomfort, God is trying to speak to you to say that you have disconnected from me. So connect to God, find out who and what God is. In my experience, God is an experience, God is relationship. You have to get to know and understand the detail. That's why we form relationships in physical, to be able to understand the divinity within each of us. But then we get hit with the narrative of romance. Romance is for control. The real romance is comfortability with stillness and space. I'm sending you so much love.